The very definition of an old school circuit. That's where we find ourselves tonight at Brands Hatch, this historic British venue hosting the World Series League's GT3 competition here tonight. Hello, everyone. My name is DJ Clark, joined in the booth by Ewan O'Leary with our director and producer David Christie behind the scenes. And Ewan, this is a very, very tricky track. It is a track that it is very difficult to overtake on, but my goodness, is it a blast to drive.
Yeah, it is. Certainly for some, it's very, very tricky indeed. You absolutely cannot afford to make any kind of mistake around here due to the proximity of the grass, the gravel, and the barriers on the outside of the circuit as well. It is a great circuit to drive on your own, maybe not to drive behind someone else because it is difficult to get back through on them. However, the saving grace for you is that the likelihood of a mistake seems to be a lot closer. So it is still going to be an interesting race, and we'll be especially looking forward to that reverse grid race to seeing exactly where they're going to be able to make these moves.
Yeah, it certainly is. And as we take a look there at the championship table, Sean Campbell leading the way in the GT3 Pro standings right now. R.A.W.S only a couple of points there behind him, and it's very much developing into a two-horse race between Campbell and Willis. Jonathan Willett in a little bit of a battle back with Dave Menino, Kyle Boss, and Alex Trevor. Dean Tim sitting back at 218 points. Jeremy West, Chase Wilson, and Reese Newburn rounding out your top 10 there. But let's go ahead and take a look also at our AM standings here, because we do have that second category. It's Justin Delano with the larger lead up at the top. Matthew Plaisance about 25 points or so behind him. Casey Metzger in a tight little battle there with Shreyas Venkantaranju. There we go. As Jeff Carollo sits tied with Shreyas there as well. Eric Kulaga sits with 203 points. Drew Neubauer very close behind him, as is Steven Martinez and Michael Kulaga, and Andrew Rasmussen certainly in the mix there as well. But that all leads us into tonight around this circuit, the home of the British Grand Prix for a number of years, and the European Grand Prix as well. It's a circuit that is known very well by a bunch of drivers, and as you said there, I think the second race here tonight, the reverse grid race, is going to be absolutely fascinating to see just who, if anybody, is able to get by.
Absolutely. I think it's not as difficult as it sometimes looks around here. Not only in terms of making normal moves, I think it's not quite as difficult as people seem to think sometimes, but also the fact, what I said a couple of moments ago, a mistake is very easy to make around here. So if you put enough pressure on, and you just apply that pressure, then you can see a mistake from the driver in front, and you can get through in that way as well. So I don't think it's going to be one long line for the entire race with nobody able to move. It's going to be a bit different to that.
Yes, it is. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Checkered flag flying right here for practice before we get going for the first of our two races on the course on the docket here for tonight. Temperature sitting at about 81 degrees Fahrenheit out on track, so just about in that Goldilocks zone that we like to talk about. But that's going to go ahead and bring us right into that qualifying grid. Lining up in pole position, it's going to be Sean Campbell with R.A.W.S to his outside, the championship protagonists lining up there together. That is going to be fantastic to watch. Jonathan Willett and Dan Tenorio will be third and fourth, with Chase Wilson and Ariel Rexoy in fifth and sixth. And then rounding out the back of your pro field, it will be Mark Chapman. And that brings us back to the AMs there, Ewan.
Yeah, Dean Tim's just next ahead of Brayden Merling. Then it's going to be Shreyas Venkantaranju in that third place. Tristan Hurl will be just alongside him. And then it's going to be Casey Metzger coming up next. Michael Fowler as well. Andrew Rasmussen 14th in the overall for him in the AM category. And then Jeff Carollo. Did I mention Eric Blumenkrantz? He's there as well. Charles Boscher will be there, joining Neubauer. Andrew Hewitt, Pockerafree will be in the rounding out the top 20 in terms of an overall standing. Then Fabian Ponce and James Hebb on the next row together, and Daniel Flair and Justin Delano will also be there as well.
Yes, they will, and sorry for a little bit of the change around there. Dean Tim's actually a pro driver. He's going to be lining up in 8th in class. And getting a nice little message there from John Casey in our YouTube chat, wishing us luck. And he looks like he is on vacation down in Charleston, South Carolina. So wish you all of the sunny beach weather that you can get there, John. And we can't wait to see you back in the series. Drivers now working their way through Druids down towards Graham Hill Bend. This is really the area of the track here, Ewan, where you do see any of those potential overtakes happening. It's certainly in this first sector.
Yeah, we saw a lot of moves kind of sorting yourself out through 1 and then into turn 2 in this racetrack, and that's the way that it's mostly been in the EU series that we saw a few hours ago anyway. So they'll be able to draw on that a little bit, these drivers, and they'll be able to kind of look at where the guys did it through there and maybe take a bit of inspiration from that and have a go themselves. But yeah, I mean, there's been plenty of moves. Even around the back of the circuit here, we're about to see the fast section through the forest out the back of the GP circuit here. Even through here, we saw side by side, we saw some moves being made. So really anywhere is a possible move if you really put your mind to it. But you do obviously need to be a bit more careful around this section of the track. It's very, very narrow. There's grass everywhere, and the walls are very close as well, as you can see around here. But going side by side can be done.
Yeah, it certainly can. We have seen it play out, though, but I do have to agree with you that I think the most easy way to get by around here today is going to be forcing an error from the driver in front of you, just trying to apply that pressure. And how many times have we seen that sort of battle of pressure going on over the course of a race between Sean Campbell and Harry Wills? Those two drivers, absolutely titans here of this series and leading the way. Sean looks like he is one of 3 Lamborghinis in the field, and Harry in a whole heap of Mercedes. But we bring the way down through Clark Curve right now, heading onto the Brabham straightaway. There goes the iRacing pace car scampering down pit lane. All eyes turning on to Sean Campbell there in that red and black Lamborghini, waiting for the flag to fly. And there goes the green. We are racing in Brands Hatch as they get to the line and get going here. Good start there for Sean Campbell. It looks like Harry Wills is going to be able to slot in behind him. Lett going to be holding on to that position as it looks like the pros are able to get through there nice and cleanly down in through the first corner.
Yeah, very nice and cleanly once again. These two great rivals, Sean Campbell and Harry Wills, once again getting away from the field as they have done so often this season. It's basically a head-to-head battle between the two of them, as everybody else behind is kind of battling for places. It's Campbell versus Wills in terms of the battle for the lead, and meanwhile behind we've had a clean start in the AM category as well. By the look of things, with everybody, I think, getting around the first couple of corners without any major problems.
Yeah, looks like they're the chase, able to hold on to that lead as we jump back in here to the battle for the pro lead right now. Campbell continuing to lead from Wills. Oh, big coming together there as it looks like James Hebb has had a problem. I believe Eric Blumenkrantz there as well. Maybe Andrew Hewitt involved as that as well. Blumenkrantz, the one that was turned down to the inside there in the BMW.
Yeah, we spoke a bit too soon maybe about the start in the AM category because it did kick off a little bit down there in towards turn 4. And I'm afraid there have been a few incidents as a result, but the top 3 have been allowed to get away sort of here. Tristan Hurl just holding back the likes of Rasmussen and Carollo at this moment. Just in that battle a little bit further down in the AM category as we go back up to the pros, because Dean Timms has managed to lift himself from the back of the field, at least into 7th place.
And Mark Chapman, though, looking like he may have a little something to say about that here as they work their way down through Druids right now. Timms is going to set his eyes up the road on Chase Wilson to see if he's going to be able to close in there, as this is another one of the runs here of a Mercedes train. But up at the front here, I've got to give some credit here to Sean Campbell. It looks like he's been able to grow a little bit of a gap, call it 9/10 of a second here, as they work their way onto Pilgrim's Drop.
It's working out quite well at this stage for Campbell. He's getting away just a little bit at the moment. Harry Wills really did struggle in the EU series, I've got to say. He's normally very strong in these GT3 races, of course. He does like a Mercedes to be right on the ragged edge, but he's very quick with it as well, but was making a few mistakes here and there throughout the couple of races we had earlier on tonight. So I do feel like there could be more problems for Wills a little bit later on, and he might not be able to stick with the pace of Campbell, because he certainly wasn't able to a few hours ago.
Well, I mean, I think you're also looking at a little bit of the differences there in between the cars themselves, as that Lamborghini known to have a little bit better rotation through the corners. As we jump back to check out a replay here, this is Jonathan Ouellette spinning off, finding the inside barriers. I believe that's going down through there. Very tough situation there for the Canadian.
Yeah, it's over the top of the hill at Dingledale. It's such a difficult corner because you can't see where you're going on the entry there. You can't really get the apex very easily. There's grass to collect you on the outside there as well. It's not like a curb like there would be at other circuits where you can just run out wide on the red and white curbing and save yourself. Nothing of that. You're straight into the grass and you're straight into a spin if you're not careful. There's this battle for second between Baden Merling and Casey Metzger rages on in the AM category at the moment. Interesting to see that Justin Delano, by the way, started so far down the field here in this race, championship leader, but he's already up into 9th place.
Yes, he is working his way forward and doing a great job here. Little bit of side-by-side action. This is Ouellette and Chapman going at it, going down through the right-hander on the outside of the track. That's going to be Ouellette forced off a little bit wide. Mark Chapman saying, I do not want you to have that position. I don't even want to think about the math here of where the Australian driver is in terms of a time zone right now, as this has got to be all hours of the day there for him.
It's probably some point in the mid-morning, actually, for him at the moment, as Jeff Carollo gets going again. I think it could well be about, try and work this out, maybe quarter to 1 in the afternoon, maybe. I don't know, but maybe a bit earlier than that. But it's certainly not an unreasonable time for him to be awake, which is good. And hopefully it's not affecting his performance at all. I'm sure it isn't. He's under a lot of pressure from Ouellette right now, though. This is what we mean by setting it up through turn 1 to have a dive at turn 2. It's the inside line for Ouellette, and Chapman can't hold him back anymore.
Oh, and Michael Fowler is the latest driver there, the Audi driver, to find that outside line there, coming down out of Paddock Hill Bend. And there's another one flying off. That's going to be Neubauer that gets it a little bit wrong, coming up through Druids.
Way too late on the brakes there. Completely wrong and into the gravel. This is a bit further back with the 93 going off at the penultimate corner. Just a bit too much speed on the entry there and going around with a very simple spin, really. And thankfully not too many cars behind him there to get collected there. But yeah, way too late on the brakes from Neubauer. Ended up off at turn 2, but it's such an important corner in these battles when you're trying to get through. Neubauer knew that, obviously, and he was watching the mirrors too much on the entry there.
Yeah, watching the mirrors a little bit too much. I think he also may have seen that opportunity there from Fowler up in front of him in that Audi and tried to go for it. Brandon Mayling looking like he made a little bit of an issue there coming down through Sterling's, but he's going to hold it off a little bit. Now he's going to have a little bit of an assault here from Casey Metzger. Those two are going to go side by side down through Clark Curve as they try to hold it on out. It's going to be advantage here to Metzger, down, or Mayling rather, down on the inside line, trying to see if he's going to be able to hold it. And Mayling tries to get it out there, the ERS by Skyline Designs driver, and they've got to be careful here because Tristan Hurl and the fellow BMW is going to get right involved in this if they're not careful.
And the blinking there didn't help there for Metzger. He's on the outside line now, inside again for turn 3. The two of them inseparable, but finally the outside line for Brandon Mayling has done him well, and he's gotten through. Now Hurl is up the inside, and this was exactly the danger when Mayling and Metzger engaged in this battle, because they're going to allow others into it with Hurl and Rasmussen. Rasmussen nearly able to go around the outside of turn 4 there, but was not quite given the room to make it all the way around, and so he has to stay in 5th.
Yeah, he's going to have to hold on to that position there a little bit longer. Here's another little bit of good battle starting to play itself out. This is R.A.W.S up in that pro category with Wilson and Timms looking to be able to close in behind. Remember, Timms qualified last in class there, and he's looking to try to move his way forward. But the two Mercedes looking to try to be able to get by the BMW. Goes defensive there, does R.A.W.S going down onto the main straightaway on the Brabham straight. Looks like he didn't really need to, as Wilson didn't have the momentum to get by him.
Certainly didn't, and he's going to have to wait. He didn't really have that nice run out of turn 1 as well that you really need. He kind of had the momentum at the wrong point and then just had to lift off again because the BMW was in the way. He didn't want to go into the back of the car in front, so just had to wait, and he'll have to wait another lap here. Really, this is another look at them over the line again and in towards turn number 1. He did see there on the entry to the corner, he gets a very good run through the first part of the corner there, but it's on the exit there, in the second part where you really need the run, rather than that first part. This is R.A.W.S though, and this is almost identical to one of the runs into the gravel he had in the EU Series race. In the first race, he was running about third at the time, briefly off 2 or 4 wheels, but from then on, it just got worse and worse, and R.A.W.S got more and more ragged, you could say, with his driving. Hopefully that doesn't happen again.
Well, this is certainly a track that you do not want to be driving the car ragged, and indeed, you really want to be keeping everything nice and easy. Here is a little bit of a battle starting to shape itself up, though, as this is Shea being able to hold on to the advantage. 1.6 over Braden Maling. Oh, as we've got another car around, that's Andrew Rasmussen in the Porsche. Watch out for the rejoin, Andrew.
Yeah, just about did that one safely enough. It's a simple spin at Dingledale again. I think it's going to be pretty much like what we've seen so far in terms of spins through that corner, because there's only a certain amount of ways you can do it, I suppose. And Rasmussen has dropped outside of the top 5 and is only just clinging on to a top 10 place. In the end, it wasn't the grass on the outside. It was just a spin completely almost on his own there. Interesting to see that there were only 3 cars in that train, though, at the time. So what has happened to one of the other drivers in that one? Casey Metzger has also dropped down the order.
Yeah, he had a little bit of a spin coming down through the first sector, I believe, and that spun him right around. And so lots of drivers just finding the problems here of Brands Hatch, that you carry too much speed into these corners. It's going to bring you right around, and that is the last thing you want to have happen. But right now, the battle between R.A.W.S, Wilson, and Timms continues to fire along here. Very, very close running. Throw a blanket over him. Only about 4/10 of a second, but it's 4/10 of a second separating these 3 drivers.
Very close battle indeed, but R.A.W.S is finding himself to be quite difficult to overtake, and the advantage he has is that Wilson is starting to have one eye in the mirror now as well, because Dean Timms is looking quite threatening now, and possibly more threatening than Wilson is looking to R.A.W.S, and so Wilson knows that, and he's starting to just have that one eye in the rearview mirror to make sure, though Dean Timms misses the apex at turn 1. He's not able to get that run, and will have to stay behind for the moment. For whatever reason, really revving that engine very highly indeed in the Mercedes at the moment. The red flashing lights going berserk, but it's not too much of a problem in a 25-minute race, and he's just looking to use all of that up at the moment to try and get through on Wilson. But a bit of a stalemate in this battle at the moment, really.
Yeah, a little bit of a draft train starting to play itself out as, well, as much of a draft as you can get around this twisting circuit. A little bit of a defensive move there for the BMW of R.A.W.S coming down through Pilgrim's Drop as he tries to keep everything together there. He's going to run wide out into the grass. Is that going to open up an opportunity here for Wilson to be able to get anything on R.A.W.S, as that was R.A.W.S running a little bit wide. Wilson certainly thinks about it as we've got one of the Lamborghinis. That's Jeff Carollo hard into the barriers. I believe that's coming through Surtees.
Oh, it's way too late in the brakes, and he can barely get the car turned in. Hard into the wall there. That's going to do some damage, you would imagine, especially all the impact going basically onto that front right corner. So there's going to be problems there for Jeff Carollo, and there they are. Neubauer and Rasmussen both go through, and there was no surprise really. That was a big hit on the front right, which is surely damaged.
Yeah, it surely is, as we keep an eye now on the battle for P4 again. And it looks like here, oh, that was a bad run for R.A.W.S. He's going to lose 2 for 1 in one corner, and that is going to put him far down the order there, all the way down to 6th. As now Wilson gets by him, and that is going to be Willett able to get by him as well. R.A.W.S just having it all fall apart there in Sector 1.
Yeah, what has happened here to R.A.W.S, because he was running oh so well, and then just a slide. This is just a slide, but it's natural. He lets those 2 Mercedes through okay, but then he goes so slowly up into turn 3 here, and he lets the Mercedes who let go as well. They're not on the same team or anything. I can't see any reason why on earth he would do that.
Nor can I. It's a bit of a fascinating thing to see. I mean, if I didn't know any better, I would say that would have been a slowdown penalty, but he obviously didn't cut the track anywhere, so that's very strange indeed. Fabian Ponce here having a little bit of an excursion out onto the grass. Whoa! Spins it out, but he is a very, very lucky boy that he did not make harder contact there with the outside wall.
Exactly. As bad as it was, it could have been worse. because that wall was very, very close indeed, and he's lucky to get away with that one. As we look at the battle between Mark Chapman and the leader of the AM category, Shreyas Venkatarajan, in the other Mercedes, one of the best looking Mercedes out there of the bunch, you have to say. And I've forgotten what this car's called, but runs in the, or used to run in the Japanese Super GT Championship. I've forgotten what you'd call that car, what it was called, because it did have a name, but I've forgotten it. And it's one of the best looking cars out there in the world of motorsport, certainly in the world of GT3 racing. So nice to see that livery being given a bit of a run out in this series as well.
Most certainly, as we keep our eyes again focused on that battle for P4 in the pro category. Tim's not letting Wilson out of his sights, and now they've got another third competitor to maybe be able to bring up into the mix. That is Willett there behind them. Jonathan definitely starting to close down a little bit. The gap only about 1.1 seconds, and I've got to think here that if these two Mercedes start to duke it out even so slightly, that is going to allow for Willett to be able to bring into this battle and make it a true three-car fight.
Yeah, I mean, while they were having that fight with R.A.W.S, he was certainly closing in as Harry Wheels once again off the road, and he saves it on that occasion. But how many more times can he continue to get away with this? Because this is what happens. It slowly unravels for him, and certainly it did earlier. And so, yeah, how long can that continue on for? Just got to fear for him, really. But Sean Campbell is under no pressure, really, at the front of the field right now. And you've got to say, with only an 8-car pro field here today, a reverse grid race might not be that much of a challenge for him, especially with 50 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, he'll have plenty of time to be able to piece his way through the field, potentially, as we watch here James Hebb trying to close down on Fabian Ponce. Remember, Ponce having that issue a little bit earlier on in the race, getting spun, going down out of Paddock Hill Bend and up into Druids. So trying to recover here a little bit. Hebb in that Lamborghini, trying to close down on the BMW up ahead of him. A little bit of a different way in terms of the way those cars make their speed. Another battle that we've been keeping our eye on, Urexoy and Chapman. Looks like Urexoy trying to hold this out as long as he can. Actually, it's not Chapman there. That is Chapman and Shreyas there that he's trying to close in behind, as you said earlier.
Yeah, this is a pro versus am battle, but it just speaks to how quick Venkatarajan has been in this race so far, because it's been remarkable. 5.5 seconds away from the rest of the field and on the back of the pros. Admittedly, I didn't see as big of a gap between the pros and the AMs than we usually do. And we saw them in the background of some of the shots, and I don't know quite what the rules are, specifically whether there are actually specific rules for how many seconds it has to be, or in what window the gap between the pro and the AMs has to be. But the responsibility would lie on Venkatarajan if it was done wrong, because he was the AM leader after all, the AM pole sitter.
Yes, he was. As there, looks like Charles Michel's had a little bit of an issue. Looks like he went wide there, going down through Graham Hill Bend, trying to stay out of everybody's way, and in so doing, just got that car a little bit sideways and pulls it off of the racing line. He's able to get back going there again. That Olympus Esports driver, Casey Metzger, now having a problem back in the AM category. All of these drivers just running afoul of the track limits around here. Harry Wills, heavy damage to the front of that car.
Yeah, he's been in the wall there. Front right has been in, and maybe rear left as well, with a bit of rearrangement on the bodywork, and it was lap traffic. Oh, dearie me. Into the wall there on the run up to Dingledale. He didn't lose that much time in terms of seconds. It could have been worse, but he still lost a bit of his bodywork, and he'll be really, really disappointed with that. He's got Tenorio right behind him. Fortunately, part of the same team, so might be able to help him out, but dearie me, that is not what you want to see, some lap traffic involvement, and that's exactly what you get around a circuit as short as this one. You will see the pro cars lapping the lower AM cars, even in the first sprint race.
Yes, you will, and there you saw a little bit of a coming together there with Blumenkrantz just getting a tip from behind of Andrew Hewitt in that Ferrari. He was sideways as it was, and then lost it there coming up. Andrew Rasmussen there, the Porsche driver, having a little bit more problems as well. Everybody just coming to blows with themselves here in the final 10 minutes of this first 25-minute sprint race.
It's a very difficult circuit, there's no margin for error, and so it does mean that we see races like this, very attritional ones with cars going off the road at every moment, but it's better than a boring race with nobody going off and nobody overtaking anybody else, so we'd rather this at the moment. And R.A.W.S doesn't look like he's going to have too much problem in terms of holding on to the second place, I don't think, because the fact he's got a teammate in behind there is a great help, and I don't think they're going to overtake one another, but these guys certainly will do. Chase Wilson skating all over the road, but Dean Timms has finally been offered a way through and will take it, and Jonathan Roulette will try and follow through as well.
A little bit of how you doing there from behind. Jonathan Roulette trying to find that opportunity to get on by, but it looks like the door was shut and no way to be able to get on by. Roulette is going to have to re-rack here as he's not close enough to get anything going down into Paddock Hill Bend. Looking around here as there looks like it was a little bit of an off from Timms in front. Is that going to open up the door now for Wilson?
Could well do, but it's unlikely at this stage. I think looking at the way Dean Timms has gone through the field so far in this race, the way he's got through on the likes of Wilson, who led and all that, I do think that there's not going to be a change there, for, at least in terms of Timms going backwards, as Tenorio makes his way through on Will. Surprised about this, because the two of them, only one of them can really win this championship, I would say, in terms of the drivers. They're obviously both on the same team. And so I'm surprised that they're exchanging positions, although that might be why, because R.A.W.S is struggling to keep that car on the road at the moment.
Oh, come on, Harry, hold on to it there. Just slipping and sliding sideways through the second half of the circuit, and again, and hard into the barrier there for the 95 of Harry Wells.
It was certainly coming ever since he got that damage, and even before, we suspected that that car might end up in the wall, and it has done. Not for the first time tonight, because in the EU Series he was struggling with it, finding this circuit once again very, very difficult indeed, as the battle for second in AM also continues on. Braden Merling trying to hold off Hurl and Delano as well, who's having a great race here. Started a long way down, but the championship leader is just showing why he's in that position by climbing his way to fourth and maybe even getting on the podium by the end of this.
He certainly can. He's just got to be a little bit patient there to maybe let these two battle it out and try to pick up some of the pieces as they cross over with just over 5 minutes to go in this race. There is Sheas there, your leader in the Pro-Am category, as it looks like he has been able to get around the pro driver there of Mark Chapman. Mailing now. This is truly a three-car battle.
It really is, and it's all down to really Merling's defence and Hill is inability to go through. It's allowing Delano into the fight as Andrew Hewitt gets underway again from a spin at the top of the hill at Dingledale with less than 5 minutes to go now. While in the other group in Pro, everyone's staying where they are. Merling trying to do exactly that by holding on to this second place, and he does so into Hawthorne's Bend.
Yes, he does. He's going to be able to hold it there, but Hurl looking for this way, looking for that way, trying to find anything that he can be able to get to force a little bit of an error out here of the number 13. Doesn't look like he's going to give him the opportunity. Behind them, Justin Delano, as you said earlier, the AM class points leader, trying to see if he's got anything with just about 4 minutes left to go here in this race.
Not long left to go at all, but still, I think maybe 4 laps. I think 4 laps at the line here. Despite the fact there's less than 4 minutes to go now, I do think we're still going to get 4 laps here in this race. Delano, though, so close to the back of Hurl. It was a good exit off the final corner for the Porsche. That's what you need for a move into turn 1. A move which is certainly possible. However, not on this occasion for Delano. And you see, even it looks like a balanced car, but even he is using a bit of oversteer and opposite lock through turn 1.
Yeah, it certainly was. Here is Jeff Carollo, the Lamborghini driver. Looks like he's had a little bit of an issue getting off into the grass. Oh, hard into the barriers and collecting Charles Bichelle there, or Daniel Floria rather, in that McLaren. Just an absolute parking lot going into Druids.
It's difficult to get off of that gravel once you get onto it on the outside line there, and you're heading straight for the wall, which runs not quite parallel to the circuit, but at kind of 45 degrees, and you do slam into it. As Andrew Rasmussen might be able to find out here. He goes off as well. The gravel kind of grabs you there, and he slowed the car down enough to rejoin without actually hitting the wall there. But if you don't slow the car down enough and the gravel drags you in a bit more than you're expecting, then you can find yourself in that wall that sits at 45 degrees to the track and deals you a lot of damage.
Yes, you can. Is Justin Delano there having a moment of terror coming down through Dingle Dell? It looked like the R.A.W.S by Skyline Designs number 38 Porsche getting all kinds of cockeyed there, coming out of the corner, touching the grass. He's lucky to be able to keep that car pointed the same way. Here is Mark Chapman as he works his way around, having been passed earlier by Shreyas Raju. That is going to be able to get him holding on to that 7th place position with Wills effectively out of this race.
Yeah, Chapman is, as you say, down in that 8th place at the moment. I thought R.A.W.S said he was 2 laps down there, but that was just sorting itself out. He's not actually, he's still in that, on that lead lap for what it's worth. But yeah, Chapman will be up towards the front for the start of the 2nd race alongside Harry Wills on the front row for that 15-minute race, so they'll both be ones to watch throughout the opening portion of the throughout the entirety of race 2, because they've got a very good chance of maybe taking a victory. But Justin Delano here, 4th place, just behind in this group, and it's, even though it's not the perfect race for him, it's still a great recovery because he's beating 2nd and 3rd in the championship on the road right now. He'll be putting more points into them and once again extending his already large championship lead.
Yes, he will. Michael Fowler, the latest driver to find a little bit of the grass there. This one looking like he was coming out of Hawthorne Bend there. Braden Maling looking like he's being able to hold a little bit of a gap over Hurl behind him. That'll be good news as, by the way, it is going to be 2 laps to go here at the line for these drivers, and it looks like Hurl is going to be the one who's under massive pressure from Justin Delano, trying to sneak up and gain a podium here in the AM category.
Yeah, Hurl made a bit of a mistake, actually, throughout that last couple of corners. So he's invited all that pressure from Delano, who also had a wobble of his own, but he was able to stay very close to the back of that BMW, but he is running out of laps, running out of corners to really make that move. Sean Campbell is in the final sector right now, and he's about to come over the line, so there will be one more lap in this race.
Yes, he will, and that was James Hebb there that you saw off of the Rhino Motorsports machine having a bit of a moment, and that was right around your leader, Sean Campbell, so certainly a heart-and-mouth moment for the number 26 Lamborghini. Hebb able to get himself back up and pointed the right way. Braden Ling here got a little bit of lap traffic in between himself and Hurl, so that's going to make his life all the easier.
Yeah, that is going to help him quite drastically. I think he's got the gap anyway. He had a few car lengths of air between the two of them beforehand. With that car in between, just makes your position even more short. But even so, I think he'll be absolutely fine. As we got James Hebb completely off the road now. It was a dip of a wheel onto the grass going into the penultimate turn before, but now he comes to a grinding halt. I hope he hasn't underfueled by that.
I hope he hasn't as well, but we focus here on your leader, Sean Campbell, who has looked positively dominant over the course of this race, not putting a tire wrong as we have expected him to do pretty much for the entirety of the season, working his way through Sheens and now through Sterling's. Really only one more corner to go for the number 26 Lamborghini here. The RSR by Butt Kicker machine comes through Clark Curve right now, bringing it onto the Brabham straight, and that is going to be yet another victory for Sean Campbell.
And nobody is surprised about that. It's another win to add to the list now. He's had 4 already this season. This puts it at 5 in only 9 races so far.
And that is why the man is up at the top of the championship order for sure. Dean Tim's going to be able to cross over with a podium in class behind Dan Tenorio there. A great recovery from a rough qualifying for Tim's. Here is Raju coming now through the last corner, and it looks like Shreyas is again going to take victory back in the AM category.
Yeah, another winner, and the most dominant, even with Sean Campbell. I suppose both of the winners actually were very dominant there, but Venkatacharjee was certainly dominant there and able to get that win. Maybe gain a few points on Justin Delano, who will finish in that 3rd place there, but of course he starts at a huge disadvantage of 42 points already, so those few points are going to help, but it's barely a dent into the lead of Justin Delano.
Yes, it is. As we wait for the last couple of drivers here to cross over the line, I think the last one is going to be that wounded machine of Andrew Rasmussen. We saw that car coming to blows there with the outside retaining wall just a little bit ago, and so that is certainly going to hurt him. As there, everyone has crossed over the line, and let's go ahead and run you through the final finishing order here for today's event. It was Sean Campbell up in the pro category, taking victory from Dan Tenorio and Dean Timms. Jonathan Willett and Chase Wilson round out your top five with Ariel Urexoy and Mark Chapman, the last of the finishing drivers. Harry Wills having some problems in finding those retaining barriers on the outside of this Branch Hatch circuit. He'll come home in 8th.
So in the AM category, it was Jez Vegetaju with a dominant victory, 11.5 seconds in the end ahead of Braden Melling and championship leader Justin Delano. Casey Metzger recovered from that spin to finish 4th ahead of Michael Fowler. Justin Hill was just outside the top 5 ahead of Andrew Rasmussen, the final car, able to finish on the same lap as the overall winner, Sean Campbell. Drew Neubauer was in that 8th place ahead of Fabian Potson. Eric Blumenkrantz in quite a fight towards the end. Andrew Hewitt just outside the top 10 with Charles Boscho. James Hebb didn't see the checkered flag, neither did Daniel Florea, at least not on the lead lap. Jeff Carollo and Ed Puckeravy also did not see the checkered flag.
No, they did not, and we're going to have a quick moment here to be able to talk to one of our finishing drivers here, Braden Mayling, who was able to come home at 3rd in that AM category. And Braden, it looked like a very difficult race out there. I mean, was it mainly just about trying to keep all 4 tires on the black stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, great job to Casey and Tristan, awesome fight those two are putting up. I'm not sure if you guys caught it, 2 laps just side by side around the entire track. It was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, we were able to keep an eye a little bit on that, but I mean, you were just kind of holding up there behind, keeping an eye on everything. Was that really the strategy here today, to just sort of let the race fold out for you and not be too aggressive?
Yeah, so Brands Hatch is, I just find, one of those tracks where you just need to make sure you're consistent every lap. You're already driving on the edge, so you don't want to push too hard, because that's when you have situations where your car just goes completely into the grass and into a wall.
Well, I've got to ask you, when we go into this longer race now, what's the strategy there? Is it a little bit more of the same, or does it kind of change the way you think about it?
So I don't want to give too much away. Obviously, don't want my competitors to gain an advantage on me. But it's going to be a lot of just kind of picking your moments to get through the pack. And again, same thing, just don't push too hard or else you'll just make mistakes.
All right, well, Braden, we wish you the best of luck when we get there, my friend, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes out on the track.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was Braden Mainling there, your 3rd place driver in the AM category, and that is going to bring us to a quick break, and so we will step away for a few minutes, but do not worry, we will be back with that full feature 50-minute race here from Brands Hatch. Welcome back to Brands Hatch. As promised, we are getting ready for the second race here tonight. This one 50 minutes long with a pit stop in the middle of it. DJ Clark here, joined in the booth by Ewan O'Leary with our director and producer behind the scenes as David Christie. And Ewan, this is going to be all the more tricky out there. We talked to a couple of the drivers there before we went away, specifically Braden Mayling, talking about how patience is going to be so very crucial here in this longer race.
It certainly is. The advantage you do have is that you do have that little bit of a longer race to kind of play with and see where things go, really. But yeah, it's going to be difficult for everybody for this race. It's reverse grid, of course. It's going to put the fastest drivers down towards the back. But that's exactly why we love this second race. It shakes things up a little bit from the first, so let's see. But the slightly smaller field, especially in Pro, I actually don't think the likes of Sean Campbell are going to have to be that patient, even though he can't wait around forever, because of course R.A.W.S will be starting first, as we'll see in a few minutes.
Yes, you will. And let's take a look at those revised championship standings. With that last race, Sean Campbell pulls out his lead to nearly 30 points over Harry Wills, so that becoming quickly almost unattainable. Jonathan Roulette there holding out a little bit of an advantage over Dean Timms. Dave Menino falling back down through the field courtesy of not being there here today. Chase Wilson, though, gaining ground on Menino. Kyle Boss staying put. Alex Trevor, Jeremy Rust, and R.A.W.S rounding out that top 10. As we jump over to the AM category, things have extended out a little bit here for Justin Delano, but we do see that Shreyas is able to start to be the one now who is hoping to close in behind him, and if he has another race like he did last time out, that's certainly going to change things up. Casey Metzger losing out to Shreyas there. Jeff Carollo sits back there about 5 points ahead of Braden Maling, Drew Neubauer, Russell Fowler, Andrew Rasmussen, Matthew Plaisance, and Tristan Hurl rounding out the top 10. A very, very close battle there from about 5th on back, so that is certainly going to be something to keep an eye on. But I think one of the things to keep an eye on here is just trying to keep all 4 tires on the black stuff. We saw so many drivers running afoul of track limits, and you know, normally we talk about that as, oh, you're going to get a 1X, anything like that, but really and truly around this Branch Hatch circuit, you run afoul of track limits, you're going to find yourself spinning off.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I think that everybody's not going to have to be as patient as everybody thinks maybe in this one, because if you just apply that little bit of pressure, you just bide your time ever so slightly, then you will force that mistake and you will be able to get through in that way. So even if on-track overtaking might be a bit tricky, you can force that mistake and you can go through in that way. So patience might not be as big of a factor as people are maybe expecting in this one because of that. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it's a shame to see those 2 championships and how maybe not close they are compared to what we've seen so far in some other championships and in previous seasons of this GT3 championship. But you know, we've just seen such consistency from those at the front, and especially Justin Delano, who actually hasn't won a race yet, but he's still got a big lead in the AM category.
Yes, he does, but I think with R.A.W.S being able to put in those great times that we've seen from them, that is certainly going to be something to watch here in the second half of this season as it continues to go along. Just about 30 seconds left before we take to the grid to get ready to go racing, and, well, you and any other final takeaways here before we put these cars on the track?
Oh, I don't think there's anything else really compared to what these drivers aren't expecting. Nothing's going to surprise them at this point. We're nearly at the halfway stage. Everybody knows about the reverse grid. They know about the 50 minutes. One thing I was surprised to see actually in the longer race in the EU series was the lack of people coming in early to get out of traffic, which you might expect to be a factor around here. But for the most part, people really wrung their tanks dry and went to the very end of their stints in that way, as opposed to coming in a bit early to get out of traffic. I mean, it was a nice jump from Vanderbroek in the AM category there to get in front and pit a little bit later and get through in that way. But, I mean, we didn't see very much in terms of the pit stop games. Maybe we'll see a bit more of that in the US series.
Maybe we will indeed. As we line up here, it is going to be Harry Wills starting on pole position with Mark Chapman flanking him to the outside. R.A.W.S and Chase Wilson will line up in row 2, followed by Jonathan Willett and Dean Timms, with Dan Tenorio and Sean Campbell rounding out your pro field.
Jeff Carollo will be starting at the front of the AMS alongside the McLaren of Daniel Fleuret. Then it will be James Hebb and Charles Boscho with Andrew Hewitt in the 5th place. Eric Blumenkratz will be 6th ahead of Fabian Ponce. Then it's going to be Troy Neubauer, Andrew Asmussen and Tristan Herr running at the top 10. Michael Fowler will be 11th ahead of Casey Metzger in that 12th place. Then it will be Justin Delano, championship leader, ahead of Braden Melling. Shreyas Venkataraju will be in 15th position, having won that first race. And then Egg Photography will be in that 16th place, bringing up the rear.
Right, as cars start to work their way out here onto this reconnaissance lap, everybody going to be wanting to get those tires up to temperature, as it is a little bit chillier out on track, 78 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and that's going to lower those tire temperatures, make things even more difficult, I think, in these first couple of laps. Drivers are going to have to be very, very careful coming down into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time.
Yeah, they're going to have to be very careful once again. I think the pinch point, though, is going to be after that. We saw it in the first race. Everybody got through almost the whole first sector very cleanly. It was only at turn 4 where we saw the first incident. I have to admit, I was a bit surprised to see everybody get through turn 2 without contact, because that is often a bit of a pinch point. We might not see that again, but if we do, then that will be great. We'll keep the field very close together. And speaking of which, the split between the Pro and the AM categories just seemed to be a bit smaller today, although in this race, the AM cars will be starting a bit further back than what they did in the first race. For whatever reason, they were only a few seconds behind the Pro cars, whereas they're normally a bit further than that.
Yes, they are. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. That'll be an interesting thing to check here, as there isn't a lot of real estate out on this circuit, and if we certainly have a little bit of a stack up here in the Pro category, if they don't separate themselves out well enough, we could see that actually affecting the AM class here as they work their way around. But as we get onto the back half of the circuit right now, working our way down into Westfield Bend, these drivers, the adrenaline starts to pump up a little bit, and you know as well as I, you've got to be able to put that adrenaline away and just focus on the road.
Or indeed use it as a bit of fuel yourself to to push on a little bit here, but yeah, it's best not to really overthink it here. Best to just but do your normal thing and you'll be absolutely fine, and Harry Wills will certainly be doing that. He'll be very dangerous in this race in terms of being a candidate for race winner here. Starting on that pole position, he's one of the very best in this field, and his main rival, I think his only rival in this race really, Sean Campbell, is not doing a disrespect to the rest of them, but Sean Campbell is away off the back here with that in that 8th place. If Wills can get away and get a good few seconds between him and Campbell in this start, then he will be in a good position to maybe win this race.
Yes, he certainly will. As we bring this field to the start-finish line, the lights go out, the green flag flies, and we are racing again in Brands Hatch. A brilliant getaway there from Harry Wills. He is going to lead definitively going down there into the first corner. Everybody staying side by side, jostling their way around. Looks like Chapman is able to slot in ahead of R.A.W.S. Sean Campbell already making up one position there on Dan Tenorio as they work their way through Druids for the first time. Looks like everybody's through cleanly, and we jump back to the Amfield.
Yeah, and it's a much more even start actually on the front row from these guys. A long wait from Jeff Carollo, who finally gets going. And Tony Fleury on the outside. Everybody dive. Oh, and there's contact into turn 1. Off the road to Tristan Hurl, who makes pretty big contact with the rear in that BMW. Brendan Melling and Andrew Rasmussen have gone right off the road there, as well as Dean Timms on the way out of turn 4. Somehow, that's a long way out of turn 4. He must have had some help.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but some heavy damage to the number 46 on the front end of that Mercedes-AMG GT3. We go back to check out the replay here, and indeed, that was contact with Sean Campbell.
Wow. Well, it's unsure from this angle anyway who was at fault for that one. However, there was big contact, wheel to wheel. You saw the two of them there. It is again. Now, did the two cars, because from that point of view, we joined it very late, but from that point of view, it looked like Timms was going across the road, but if the two cars got connected really there, then we can't really blame Timms. I think Timms actually did come across into Campbell there. I'm not entirely sure why either.
Yeah, he must have just not thought that Campbell was down to the inside there, and the Lamborghini thankfully able to escape a good amount of it. We're actually going to be able to... Oh, that was a sudden jerk out there, yeah.
It tells a different story because that Mercedes in front made a mistake. I think it must have been Wilson who made a mistake just in front of him there, and in order to go around him, he did have to go on that left-hand side there, but Campbell was obviously already there, so Timms didn't make an unnecessary move to the left-hand side there. It wasn't just completely brainless, but it maybe could have been a bit thought through better because it was an easy mistake to make. We'll put it that way because there's a car on your left already. Sometimes in the heat of the battle, especially when there's a car immediately slowing down in front of you, then you do want to get around it. So Timms was left in an awkward place there.
Oh, as we've got more cars off into the side there, that looks like Hewitt and Florea both getting into problems there. The lone Ferrari and the lone McLaren in the field potentially coming to blows there through Surtees. Oh, and Timms again. Timms in pit lane.
Now he's been off in a separate incident. That one was involving Daniel Florea at turn 4, but further around the other already damaged Dean Timms there goes into the barrier. And that will be the end for him, at least for this part of the race. I'm afraid this is getting very chaotic, though, in the AM category. But you've got to take your hat off here to Casey Metzger. It's a great start for him. He started well down. I think he was outside the top 10. He's already into 5th.
Yeah, he's up 8 positions on the day as we take a look here at Metzger with a little bit of a slide there coming out to the outside. The Floridian able to hold on to the position, hold on to the place there, but he is not without running a little bit tough. Whoa, getting very, very close there with James Hebb as we now jump around here. A little bit of side-by-side between Chapman and Ouellette.
Around the outside there for Ouellette is a long way round, and he wasn't able to do it there. Chapman holds on valiantly for this position just for the moment. It's all happening behind though with Sean Campbell getting through on Tenorio by the looks of things through round the back of the circuit as well. So after that little bit of an off-track moment for Campbell, it's set him back a little bit, but he's now making progress again.
Yes, he is, and so that's going to mean he's going to have to keep his eyes down and keep those ears pinned back. We take a look at the replay here. Eric Blumenkrantz bringing too much speed down into Graham Hill Bend, luckily able to catch the car. Almost a dangerous rejoin there as he rejoins into the meat of the BAM field.
And And that's going to be a dangerous place to be, given what we've seen so far from that field. It's not much of a safer place to be in the pros either, to be honest, with Wilson, Campbell now ahead of you, Exoy and Tenorio as well. This 4-car battle, that was super late and deep on the brakes there from Campbell. As we see Florea here running that little bit wide, I'm afraid, and going for a spin again in that McLaren.
Yeah, that McLaren known for being a little bit prone to spin. We focus here, though, on R.A.W.S. A pair of really good battles starting to fire off here in the position, but R.A.W.S. down 4 positions by my reckoning on the day, just having a very, very rough run, and there's a couple of them there. That looks like a slowdown penalty to me, Ewan.
Well, yeah, it does, but where would he have got that? There's nowhere you can really get... Oh, well, maybe there is, but... it's an unlikely place to get them anyway, and the momentum he lost there allowed the open door for Sean Campbell to go through, and he certainly kicked the door down there, didn't he, and straight down the inside at turn 2, made his way through. Now he's applying the pressure to Wilson in the background there of that shot, just on the outside through the final corner. You don't see that done very often, but he might well have just pulled this one off.
He might well indeed. It's going to be a straight drag race now going down into the first corner of Paddock Hill Bend. Side by side, Campbell tries to give him a little bit of a pinch, but a little bit of contact there between Campbell and Wilson.
Even more wheel-to-wheel contact for the second time in the last 6 minutes for Campbell. Oh, Tenorio tried to get down the inside of him there. The door wasn't open, and in the end it was Tenorio who went around there at turn 2 for a bit of a half spin.
Yes, he did, and that's going to put him well down the order here, but Sean Campbell trying to be able to gain his way back up and close in on Wilson. Up ahead, that's a spin. That's Chapman spun around.
Mark Chapman, he was side by side there with Ouellette. Oh dear, they're trying to rejoin as well. Now can finally do so safely, but this has all allowed Campbell to maybe make another move. But yeah, Ouellette was trying to make that move through turn 4. He got contact with Chapman in the end. It was the Australian who went around.
Yes, it was very, very rough to see, but this has not curbed any of the aggression here of Sean Campbell as he closes back on the back of Chase Wilson right now, trying to see if he's able to get anything here. Looking down into Sterling's rather. That's not going to play out. Are we going to see another side-by-side move here? Going down the Brabham Straight, they fly towards Clark Curve. It doesn't quite look like Campbell's got the to be able to get it.
Going to try and go around the outside through the final corner once again as the race to a winner in the AM category. Venkataraju is into the pit lane. We've also got Neubauer there with Hewitt, Hurl. There's a load of damaged cars down here on pit lane. Fabian Ponce has also been in here, and remains to be seen why so many cars are in pit lane as Sean Campbell gets himself to third.
Yes, he does, but he's got to be careful there. Harry Will's already able to open up an 8-second gap over Jonathan Ouellette, so that is going to be a lot of ground that Sean Campbell's going to have to run in. This is what happened to Sheas here, coming down into the corner. Just absolute carnage.
Well, there was a Mercedes right in the way there, and that must have been Hewitt, I think. There he is, and it bounces straight back into him. I'm unsure as to how he didn't see that coming. Obviously, it's easy to say that in hindsight, but yeah, he didn't really slow down at all for that incident unfolding in front of him. I think it was it Neubauer maybe actually who was in the wall. Not sure how he got there, but not sure who was the car behind Taraju as well. That absolutely catapulted him into the wall. This is how Neubauer ended up there. Single car incident, ended up in the grass. Did he get help by Delano? I don't think so. So there goes the contact initially, and then one of the Porsches, my goodness, sends the race one winner into the crowd, and thankfully there isn't a crowd.
Yeah, indeed, thankful there is, and Sean Campbell there. Oh, Andrew Rasmussen going for a little bit of a spin there again, and that is going to be heavy, heavy damage to the front end of that Porsche. We're going to be very, very thankful, though, that is a rear-engine car, and there's no damage to the engine. Oh, looks like he was trying to go side by side there, just misjudged the angle.
He's already damaged from having hit Venkataraju. He was the one who got into that Mercedes. So he must have been already damaged, and that must have unsettled the car a little bit to add to all the other things that were going on there at Hawthorne's Bend. So that has ended up with him in the wall, and he'll be in the pit lane very soon as well. But back up into the pro category, we've got quite a big lead for Harry Wills, and we'll begin to wonder now, will Wills be able to hold on to this?
Well, the other driver that I'm going to be curious if he's going to be able to hold on to it is Jonathan Roulette here, who is getting closed down by the minute on by Sean Campbell. That red and black Lamborghini just appearing bigger and bigger and bigger in the rearview mirror of that Mercedes.
Yeah, it certainly is. Or even be applying the pressure from this distance. It doesn't seem like you'd be really looking in the mirror when you're just watching on at home. It doesn't really seem like you'd be thinking about that at 1 second distance, but you certainly are, especially when you've got a driver of the stature of Sean Campbell right behind you, having won 5 of the first 9 races here in this championship. That certainly does play on your mind if you are Jonathan Roulette in this situation, and so he will have one eye on the mirror there, and he will be fearful of Campbell already. And even from this distance, he can force a mistake just with his presence being 1 second back.
Yeah, he most certainly can, and let's not forget that Campbell just sort of has that ability to do that. Everybody on this track knows just how quick that number 26 RSR by butt kicker Lamborghini is, and they are going to be hoping to be able to keep him at bay as long as possible. But I've got to ask you here, Ewan, if you're in Roulette's shoes, do you try to fight this at all when he comes up from behind, or are you resigned? Oh, as Daniel Floria goes around once again.
Into the wall for the McLaren, as you say, not the first time that car has been around for a spin. Just going to be wide. Oh, actually, we just lost it over the crest of the hill there. Small bit of damage onto the barrier there, but nothing too major for him. I mean, if you are Roulette at the moment, I actually would fight, to be honest, because normally, if you are deciding not to fight at this stage, I think if there's loads of other cars other than Sean Campbell right behind here, and there's cars in front here that are attainable for Roulette and all of this situation, then maybe don't fight. And if there's a chance of getting Campbell back later, then don't fight. However, I think this is the best chance. If he tries to hold him back for the race here, I think this is the best chance that Roulette actually has to beat Campbell here in this race. So I think it's a better idea for him to actually hold off, but we'll see what he actually does decide to do here in a few moments.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And as we've said, it's pretty easy to be able to plant your car fairly defensively and run a good defensive line around this entire track and prevent that car from being able to get around and by you. So he could very well be thinking about trying to run that strategy. I'll tell you what, though, Sean Campbell is fully caught up to the back here of Jonathan Roulette as they run down the hill through Westfield Bend and down through Dingledell into the right-hander of Sheens there. That Lamborghini getting bigger and bigger in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, it is. And Campbell's certainly showing that he has the pace here, and he will not be denied. He needs to, in terms of Campbell's race, getting into his head here, he needs to get through as quickly as possible. He needs to clean air, and he needs to try and make inroads onto Harry Rule's gap as quickly as possible, because while he's got more than half an hour, that's going to be a painful and slow gap to try and close down again. So he really does need to have as much time as possible in terms of doing that. Outside line he goes into turn 2. That's one of the longest ways he could possibly do it. He's not going to manage it through there, but he's possibly setting himself up for a move here at turn 4.
He thought a little bit about doing a crossover there, and he's going to get the better run coming out of the corner, going down the Cooper Straight. He's going to have to chuck it in here to Surtees, and that's exactly what Sean Campbell does. A textbook overtaking maneuver. That is how you get it done.
And that came back pretty much to the final corner of the previous lap, just setting that one up so he could get the runoff of 3 and the inside into 4, because as he seems to know, and he seemed to use on so many occasions so far in the EU Series earlier, and now here in the US Series as well, if you've got the inside line into 4, it's difficult to respond, because the ambition to go down the inside at Hawthorns next is difficult, and it's also difficult to get a better run on the outside line here at turn 4 as well, because you can kind of park your car in front there, as Campbell just did. So it's very difficult for Roulette to really do anything about that, and Campbell already has a few car lengths over his rival.
Well, and we just heard a message over the radio there from Jonathan Roulette commending Sean Campbell for that pass. We focus our eyes a little bit further back in the pro field right now. Tenorio holding off Chapman, maybe thinking about having a little bit of a run here up ahead on R.A.W.S. These 3 run relatively close together.
They are, just for the moment, and they have been actually throughout this entirety of the race, mostly with Urexoy actually at the front. Now Wilson has changed that, but Tenorio is taking a surprisingly long time, I would say, to try and get through here. Not saying that it's easy, of course, but I would have expected him to have made his way through by now, given his podium finishing position throughout that first race. He's making hard work of this at the moment.
Yeah, certainly is, as they've got to try to work their way forward a little bit right now, seeing if there's anything to do. A little bit of a poke there to the inside for Tenorio. He's going to try to go around the long way right now, up through Hawthorne Bend. That's not going to play out, and he's going to keep having to look at the rear end of that BMW, but he's now going to take an inside look down into Westfield and gets it done, keeps it on the black stuff. Brilliant pass!
Unconventional, but it was very effective indeed, and makes his way up another position as Justin Delano also tries to do just that. I mean, what a season he is having. The consistency that Delano has shown is second to none, really. Already, he's knocking on the door of a podium only 15 minutes into this race.
Yeah, really pretty remarkable, and not entirely sure what that creature is up on the top right there in Delano's machine, but he's going to be able to get his way on by it. Our director's telling us it is some sort of a crab there, I think. Maybe just a little bit of a hallmark to him.
How can you explain the colours, though? Because I haven't seen crabs pink coloured before, but certainly not with the pink over the eye. And a full set of human teeth as well. I want to know where they find those. Actually, I do actually, so I can not go there. That looks scary to me, but anyway, he's up to third while we've been babbling on about that, because James Hebb just went very wide through Westfield, and this is what we were talking about applying the pressure and the patience game. You actually don't need that much patience, because a mistake is only around the corner for the driver in front if you apply enough pressure.
Well, one driver who certainly felt that pressure was Ed there, feeling a little bit of it, and now we've got a nice little battle starting to shape itself up between Carollo here and Metzger. Now, this is actually for the lead in the AM category right now, Lamborghini versus Mercedes, and there we see Metzger closing in behind.
Yeah, just applying that pressure once again. You can see here that Metzger, certainly the faster driver. You'd expect that given their starting positions in this race, but the way Metzger has gone through the field is really impressive indeed. He's looking to maybe make his way through now. Carollo under a lot of pressure. There's no room there at Dingledale though. Oh, there's maybe a bit of contact, and the Lamborghini goes wildly off the road. Metzger slows down to let him back through, and Delano's going to be right in on this fight now as well.
And I gotta give credit there to the gentlemanly driving there, but as you said, with Delano now very close behind, this battle is going to be absolutely electric as the points leader looks to get involved and looks to maybe take his first win of the year.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming for Delano. He'll desperately want this race win, but Metzger is not going to let him have this one easily. I think Carollo is going to struggle to hold them both back. He's wide through turn one, although Metzger didn't get a great run through there either. I think he feels bad about getting a run at any point in this racetrack now, because he feels like it's a result of the contact that was made at Dingledale last lap. I think now this race has fully reset itself though, and he can really go out on the attack once again, and you can be sure that he will do.
Yeah, I think you're right there. He's really going to be pushing ahead, working his way around. Jeff Carollo, though, going to try to minimize any of those mistakes that could potentially lead to a little bit of a pass. Here comes Metzger, though, as they come along. A little bit more contact. These two have magnets on each other. They can't keep themselves apart, and they've got to watch out here because James Hebb could get involved in this battle as well.
Yeah, he certainly could. Just watching on from behind, and it might not be the worst place to be right now, especially considering what happened this time last lap. Once again, Metzger is looking up the inside there, but we'll have to stay behind. This is turning into... Oh, it's off the road! Metzger and Delano, the two championship contenders, both of them going around.
My goodness gracious, and they're going to have to re-rack and restack here. Let's go and check out our replay, try to figure out what happened. It looks like there that Metzger just lost control of the car, and I think Delano got a little bit of contact there from behind from Hebb, and that's what started to send him around.
Yeah, Delano was avoiding that one until the contact with Hebb, who didn't really have anywhere to go, but interested to see where Metzger really went wrong there, because I can't really tell from that angle. We might not be able to tell from any angle. It could just be a mystery. But yeah, you said I think you're right. I think he just went around on his own. But it's a strange spin to have on your own when on previous laps he's been so committed through there.
Yeah, it is, and it's gonna send him down to pit lane.
My goodness me!
What is he doing? Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a wild guess here and say he's done for the day.
That was one of the most spectacular things I've seen all day, but what on earth was going on there? Yeah, very weird to see that. But that might be Metzger out of the race, and I think you're absolutely right. Already got 4 official retirements, and Venkatarazu in the pit lane right now as well. Not on many of these drivers haven't been in just yet. Of the 23 that actually took the green flag, only 15 now haven't been in, and considering we're still in the first 20 minutes, that's quite a lot, really.
Yeah, it very much is. As we watch here, Carollo now being able to hold a little bit of a gap on into himself there, as we've got another driver around. That's Michael Fowler in the Audi, out of 4th in that AM category. Everybody just fallen by the wayside here. I can tell you that James Head is about a 1.5 seconds behind. Close little battle going on here, though, between Chase Wilson and Dan Tenorio.
This is a battle I was expecting to see much earlier when Tenorio got through on your Exoid, but finally now it has happened. Wilson trying to hold him back, and I think, well, to be fair, the two of them are quite similarly paced to Ouellette just in front, so they'll fight it out between themselves as James Head from 2nd place has gone off the road.
Yeah, that's a problem there. It looks like Heb just bringing a little bit too much speed going down out of Druids. Let's watch and see what happens here. Gets through Paddock Hill Bend nice and easy, and it looks like the car just over-rotates on him. A little bit too much speed there, and he's lucky to be able to catch the car. No damage to it, but just a spin there, and that's going to cost him a position as we check back in on that battle with Wilson and Tenorio.
So many single car spins today. Can't really explain why it's happening so much and why everybody has got such rear biased cars here today, but for whatever reason it is really affecting these drivers, and they're going for spins all over the place as Braden Merlin goes wide on his own there. That's a bit more understandable because of the difficulty of this circuit, as championship leader Justin Tolano is off the road with Eric Blumenkrantz, and they've both got damage here.
And that is heavy damage to the front there of the 38. You can see the front of that missing. Let's watch and see what happened here. Delano coming in to Hawthorne, nice and easy. Oh, he lost it. He lost it on his own, and Blumenkrantz had nowhere to go.
Absolutely nowhere to go in that one, really. Couldn't see that one coming, and he goes back to the pit lane. Where is Delano? What happened to him as James Hebb also runs wide again? Where is Delano? He's still in 5th place with that damage, but the saving grace for him is the fact that he'll be able to come in now, repair that damage, and make it to the end on the fuel that he will put in at this pit stop. So, if any time to come, this incident has come at the right time for him.
Yes, it has. As now we can hopefully focus in here and keep our eyes focused on this battle between Wilson and Tenorio, our closest battle out on track as of right now. Both drivers able to get through Paddock Hill Bend nice and easy, bringing it on through Tenorio, just applying that pressure that we've been talking about all day.
Yeah, and he's been a little bit slow in terms of making these moves compared to what I was expecting. If you look at his pace compared to some of the overtakes he's had to make so far, we'd expect him to move through the order a little bit quicker, and same goes for the first race as well, but just biding his time really exercising that patience, whereas if he was a little bit more forceful, he might be able to make the moves through the field a little bit quicker, but for now he's happy with the pace that he's running at, and happy to just sit behind in 5th place as Harry Wills from the lead of the race. Well, there it is. Better not let this snowball into more and more mistakes, because it does tend to happen.
Yes, it does. I will say in Harry's defense, over the last 5 laps, he was losing time on lap 12, 13, 14, and 15 to Sean Campbell. But previous to that, on lap 16, was able to gain a little bit of time to the tune of about 0.5 of a second. There you can see it. Only lost about a half second there to Campbell with that little excursion, as Daniel Florea having just a wretched day, having another off there in that number 20 Twisted Racing McLaren.
The weirdest thing about that is the fact that he's still in 6th place after all of that. That's the strangest thing. There's been so many offs, especially in the AM category. A very, very attritional race today, as Tenorio makes a bit of a move around the outside, but there was no real way he was going to make that work, and Wilson was never really even under pressure there.
No, really wasn't. Keeping our eyes focused here, though, on Wilson and Tenorio. Once again, this battle not going anywhere, and thankfully not really seeing a mistake being made from either of these drivers as they keep everything clean and green and good to go. Working their way down through Pilgrim's Drop right here. Tenorio hoping to get a little bit of a draft, but nothing coming to fruition.
Yeah, it's It's difficult, and you obviously have to work on these things, but nothing really looking like an opening at the moment, and nothing really looking even promising in this fight for 4th place. Maybe a bit of lap traffic will be able to help Tenorio out. A damaged Ferrari up in front, not entirely sure who that is. Could be Eric Kulaga. Is he even in this race? He's not, is he? He just drives a Ferrari. I don't know who that is up in front at the moment, but could provide an opportunity here.
Yeah, could provide a little bit of an opportunity there. That looks to be the number 7 there. That's Andrew Hewitt, able to get out of the way. You can see the rear wing damage already on that Ferrari, and so having a little bit of problem there with that, but not going to cause any problem here with Wilson and Tenorio.
On this occasion, and we like to see that. It is easier when you come to the back of a car at this particular portion of the circuit, on the Indy layout, as you call it, which is a bit more like a normal race circuit, if you can say that. Whereas out on the GP layout, it really does get very, very tricky indeed. Very narrow, very twisty, and very difficult to get out of the way as well if you are a lap car. Tenorio, though, out of turn 4, on the back and here into Hawthorne's Bend. He's finding this once again tricky, and this is the first incident really in the 50 minutes of racing we've seen so far tonight in the US series. First instance really we've seen of anybody stuck behind anybody else.
Yeah, and this is a little bit more of what you'd come to expect, a battle like this as they go. Just calm and collected pressure here being applied from Tenorio, and just, oh, as soon as we say it, there's a slide from Wilson.
And really slow on the exit as well. What's that all about? Through the penultimate corner, Wilson, once again, once he gathered that one up, you'd expect him to be able to accelerate away and hold on to that place ahead of Tenorio, but what on earth goes on there? Why on earth does he slow down quite so much? I was maybe suggest pit limiter, but that was too fast for the pit limiter, I think. So how on earth and why on earth did he slow to such a speed on the exit of the penultimate corner there?
I'm not sure. I mean, the only real explanation that I could give is that he may have potentially lost, that he got a slowdown penalty, but it didn't look like he did, as here comes Mark Chapman coming down pit lane.
First of the pro cars to come in a little bit early. I mean, he's not really near anybody, so he wasn't trying to undercut or overcut anybody else. However, good to see him into the pit lane a little bit early, trying something a little bit different, and the fact that he can get in here when it's relatively quiet in pit lane is certainly an advantage, because it is difficult, this pit lane, to get onto, even with the chicane removed. It's still relatively difficult.
Yeah, and there is Ed Puckfracke. They're having a little bit of a problem going around there. Ed able to keep the car pointed the right direction here, able to get his way back around, but this is the replay of what happened, just too wide there on the exit of Druids, clipped the grass, and that's enough to send him around.
Yeah, it's still 5th place for him, which is the remarkable thing. These drivers that are having such difficulties out there today are still getting top results because of the attrition that we've seen so far in the race here. I mean, anybody who gets to the end of this race is going to get some big points in terms of the championship, because yeah, there's well, as long as you do half the race at least, anybody now will get the points. But there's big points on offer because of the slight lack of entries. I mean, Dean Timms won't be scoring points there because he retired so early, but Chapman, even at the moment, if he retired right now, he'd still score 34 points from this round, from this race, excuse me, and that's a really good tally to have, despite being last running car.
Yeah, it should be very, very good tally for all these drivers that were able to complete. And as you said, not a high car count even coming into this. Plenty of drivers missing from the series, so they're going to be able to pick up a little bit of ground going forward. As it does look like here that Dan Tenorio, now that he's able to get ahead of Wilson, starting to stretch his legs a little bit, that gap expanded to about 9/10 of a second.
Yeah, he's certainly quicker than Wilson here, and this is why I was so surprised to see him. There's Florea there. Oh, be careful. Wilson was careful, thankfully. He stayed out of the way, but this is why I was surprised to see Tenorio take so long to overtake Wilson, because you can see the clear pace advantage that he has. I don't know why he wasn't able to use that a bit earlier, but either way, it doesn't really matter. He's through up into 4th place now, and he'll try and chase down another podium. I think he is going to have his work cut out. He's pretty much identical in terms of lap times every lap with Jonathan Ouellette, and when you start with a 9-second disadvantage, that's quite a hard gap to close.
Yeah, very, very hard call to close there. But speaking of gaps closing a little bit, Sean Campbell able to get that gap down to about 4.2 seconds right now. He is pulling in Harry Wills here. So as we close down at about 20 minutes left to go in this race, it certainly looks like that battle for the lead could be on by the end of the run.
I think it will be. And it's going to be an enthralling fight between the two because two of them are so good. And just remember back to their previous fights for race wins in this series. Two great fights at the end of the Le Mans races. Controversial endings as well, of course. The two fighting over a championship. It's basically been between them two from the very start. Now the gap has extended out. It's 28 points coming into this race. Even though it would only be a 4-point game from Harry Wills here, he really needs everything he can get, even at this stage.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's just got to focus on running a clean race here at this point, as does your AM leader, Jeff Carollo, as he runs around right now, trying to see what he is able to get, seeing and working his way around as he goes.
Yes, first place looking fairly comfortable at this stage. Well, I'll say that. It'll never be too comfortable. Brendan Merling is not too far away. Gap officially about 6 seconds. It looks even a bit smaller than that to me, but I'm not entirely sure. But you can just see here Harry Wills coming up to lap them. That is how short this circuit is, because the AM leaders are still going at a fair pace.
Yeah, they are. They're by no means slow, but Harry has just been putting in some blistering times here, trying to keep ahead as much as possible over Sean Campbell as he runs and able to come up behind there. Harry now coming up to Braden Mainling as he comes up behind him right there. He's been able to work his way through pretty much the rest of the field, and Carollo's really only about 4.5 seconds up the road. Here is Chase Wilson back in P5 in the pro category. Wilson has really dropped off the back here of Dan Tenorio, although Tenorio just making a mistake there.
Yeah, a brief mistake, but we can barely note it down as a mistake in the course of this race, because we've seen so many bigger ones that it's a slight running off into the grass can barely be notable in a race like this. But Brendan Merling here has got it all to do. He's going to try and close down on Jeff Carollo. Has he really got the pace? A couple of attempts last lap, 3 or 4 attempts a lap-ish. He's got sort of closing in. But I don't think he's going to be able to trouble Carollo here, really, unless he's able to somehow make his pit stop a bit shorter.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what a lot of these drivers are looking on as we tick over that 30-minute mark in this race, looking closer and closer for that as Harry Wills working his way by Maling there, who has a little bit of a problem, and he is going to be thankful to have some clean road up ahead of him.
Not going to have it for too much longer. There's going to be more lap cars, of course, but there's going to be a pit stop for him as well. We're over the halfway point in this race now, and normally these drivers do come in around this point. They're, of course, 50% fuel limited in these races, but you don't actually use that much around this circuit. We saw even after 35 minutes into the race, some of the drivers coming into the pit lane for the first time and only time in the longer race in the EU series earlier on today. So we may still be waiting a couple of laps yet.
Harry's got a big problem there coming up through Druids. He's able to get the car pointed the right way, but that's going to allow Mainling to get back on by him. Mainling's going to pull off to the side, but don't look now. Sean Campbell right behind the 95.
Yeah, this battle might come a bit sooner than we thought. I thought it was going to be well after the pit stop phase in the final 10 minutes or so, but that mistake from Harry Wills has really pushed forward the timeline of this battle, and now with less than 17 minutes to go, the two of them are going to be fighting it out. Wills has to be really careful he doesn't get overcut or undercut by his rival here, because that is very difficult to control. And I have to say, it was a bit of a careless mistake from him.
Yeah, it really was. Just a little bit late there on the binders and threw him off a little bit as Campbell tries to close up behind right now. The gap only at about 7/8 tenths of a second here, and I think I got to agree with you there, Ewan, that we are going to see this battle fire off before pit stops go.
Yep, I do think so. Unless they come in now, I suppose it wouldn't be a bad idea for either one of them. Sean Campbell, well, I thought he was taking the tighter line there, but that is just his line. Making his way over the line again. Going to wait, but they can't go too much longer in this race, surely. If I was Sean Campbell, I would try and come in on a different lap to Harry Wills, whether that be one shorter or one longer than my rival, because it's an opportunity to maybe make the pass the easy way. Obviously less entertaining way, but it is the easier way to make it. So I do think it's a good idea for him to do that if he can. But I will certainly, if I was him, I'd be coming in at the same lap if at all possible. Sean Campbell doesn't need any extra advantage to try and go through, and by pitting on a different lap, I think Campbell does have a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I think he may as well, but we're going to have to see how that strategy shakes itself out. Campbell slowly but surely just reeling him in here at this point. That gap coming down by about a tenth here over about the last lap. So plenty of time for it to kind of pull its way in here a little bit, work its way in a little bit. And I've got to think here that Campbell is going to, as he takes a big chunk out of there, about a tenth and a half through the back half of the track.
Yeah, nice middle sector for Campbell to just close in. Let's see, over towards the pit stops here. R.A.W.S comes in. He's maybe out of fuel, maybe trying to preempt something from Campbell, but either way, he's into the pit lane. And the disadvantage Campbell has now, of course, is the fact that he had to slow down to facilitate that as Tenorio goes off again.
Yeah, Tenorio went off there, and going along with him was Michael Fowler there, a lapped car back in the AM category, as Campbell's going to continue on here. Now, the one catch that's going to come out for R.A.W.S is where he will find himself out in terms of traffic, what that is going to be, and it looks like here that he may find himself in a little bit of a pickle. Indeed, that is going to be Fowler and Tenorio that come out ahead of him, and so that may not be the perfect run there for Dan.
Wills needs clean air here, and he needs Campbell to not have clean air, and that's exactly, he's got one of those wishes with a couple of battling AM cars in front of Sean Campbell at the moment, but he needs clean air himself if he wants this to really work out, and or at least have the best possible opportunity of having this work out. In the EU series, most of the pit stops were around 11 seconds, and so R.A.W.S 14.5 second pit stop there is a worry. I think Campbell is going to come out in front here despite these two lap cars.
Yeah, I think he is as well, but we're going to have to see what goes here. Campbell tries to get his ways around. He's not going to come in, but I'll tell you who is. That is going to be the Lamborghini of, I believe, Jeff Carollo.
Yeah, race leader in the AM category, trying to make his way through on his own. Little bit of lap traffic there. The 93 BMW. Campbell now makes his way through. That will have cost him a bit of time. John Campbell's last lap was still, though, a 20.9. It clearly didn't slow him down that much. Looking at R.A.W.S next lap time, I don't think it's going to be as quick as that. But it's definitely not. It's an outlap, isn't it? Sorry. But you get the idea.
It is there. Yeah, you were. They go now. Here comes Campbell. Continues to work his way around. Continues to go. Continues to try to see what he's got as he comes down here. About 13, call it 12 and a half minutes left to go in this race. Not much time here, and we are just waiting for this pit stop to fire off to see where Campbell is going to come out in regards to Wills.
I don't think it really matters the pace at the moment. The pit stop time for Wills is just too long, I think. Here in this race, you can see everybody else around him. Ouellette, 11 seconds. Tenorio, 12. Wilson, 13 seconds. All of them shorter than Wills. And Campbell is pitting later than the lot of them. Campbell could save 4 seconds in the pit stops here when he makes this stop. I think he's going to be stationary for about 4 seconds less than his rival. And he's going to come out in the lead. But let's see.
Let's see indeed, as that pit stop has fired off. R.A.W.S right now working his way around the corner, trying to see what he's got as he brings his way down through Sheens right now.
One little bit of lap traffic to negotiate, and Campbell's already going. There he is. It's a 10-second pit stop exactly for Sean Campbell, and given they came in nose to tail, there's only going to be one winner, and it's not even close. R.A.W.S demoted to second. Sean Campbell is now in the lead. The pit stop time was the unravelling in the end. Even that mistake down at turn 2 a few laps ago might not have even decided this one. I think at the gap there was previously, I think Campbell still would have come out in front.
I think you're right about that, but when you're right, you're right. You said that Campbell was going to have a couple of seconds shorter on fuel, and that's exactly what he had. And now he has just got to negotiate around some of this slower traffic out there. Mark Chapman, about 2.5 seconds up the road from him, Justin Delano, and Ed as well. So he's going to have to get around them and, crucially, not make a mistake. We haven't seen Campbell make a mistake here thus far, but knock on all the wood if you have, if you're a fan of Sean Campbell. Very easy to do it, Brands.
I think the real calculation, the real digging we have to do is find out why Harry Wills' pit stop was 4 seconds longer here, because I know he pitted a couple of laps earlier, but that's not 4 seconds worth of fuel. I don't remember seeing his car with any damage. And even if he did have some optionals, then you certainly wouldn't take them in such a close battle as he was in. So why on earth did he have such a long pit stop, especially since he's already done the EU series earlier? He should have known exactly how much fuel to take there.
Yeah, he should have, and that was one of the longer stops that we've seen there to see what happens. And I'm not sure why exactly Harry had a longer stop, so we'll have to get to the bottom of that.
We will, and it's basically what's defined this race here, because as we said earlier, even that mistake on the way up towards Druids last time, making that mistake, that hasn't decided this race. The pit stops certainly have, as speaking of races getting decided.
Oh, that's our AM leader. That's Jeff Carollo getting into the wrong way. Oh, my goodness.
Harry Wills got into the back of him there, I think. And it's cost Carollo a lot of time. This is Brendan Merlin getting through the mess. Definite contact there. So that was Harry Wills' car. Carollo was the... I'm not sure how long ago this is. Was that the previous lap? Or, yeah, well, Lamborghini might have already been out of shape, but Will certainly sealed the deal there.
Yeah, he certainly did. That was the last lap there. So, oh my goodness gracious, contact between our former leader in the pro category and the leader of the AM class. And that's going to promote Brandon Maling here up to the lead of the AM class. Now, Carollo is only about 1.6 seconds back from him. You can see him there, but I got to imagine with the heavy damage to the front of that Lamborghini, that's not going to be going exactly smoothly.
No. It's going to be pretty difficult for Carollo. What's his lap time going to be this time around? On the well, we say that 22.6 is his best lap time so far. As Chapman gets going again, trying to see. Yeah, he's got no bonnet at the moment. I know that's the wrong terminology for US, but whatever. He's got no bonnet, no front end basically, and he's still going quicker than Mailing. This race might not be over in the AM category.
No, it certainly may not. We've seen Carollo have plenty of the speed here over the course, but it looks like Andrew Hewitt's race is going backwards there as he finds himself off in that number 7 Ferrari.
It's back going again, thankfully, but yeah, we'll be very hard pressed to find a more. Oh, we've got it! There it is. It'll be settled now. Jeff Carollo goes for another spin, and surely, even though he was going quite quickly there, he was definitely feeling the effects of damage, and it is all ended with that one. Too much oversteer into Westfield, and there it is. That will be it now. Braden Merling should go on as long as he keeps the car on the road to win now.
Well, and you can see there just how squiggly that car was indeed as we tick down here with about, let's call it 7 minutes to go in this race, and Brendan Maling just needs to focus on the road up ahead of him as he's got plenty of time, about 7.7 seconds up the road.
Yeah, and it should be absolutely fine for Merling here. Not that it won't be nerve-wracking, and he'll just it's not difficult to keep it on the road from here. Merling is in a very good place at the moment. Started the race about 61 points down on Delano in the championship, so we'll gain a few in terms of that, but Justin Delano either way is going to comfortably hold on to this championship lead ahead of most of his rivals. In fact, Merling is the only immediate rival around him, actually gaining points on him here, I think.
Yeah, I think he may as well. And remember, Sheas there having the problems earlier on in the race. He's going to find himself well down in the order, and so that's going to be a problem. Harry Wills pushing boundaries yet again, finding a little bit of an excursion off the track.
Yeah, he's got to be very careful of this once again. This is what happened towards the end of the last race. Oh my words, he's done well to keep it at the wall. But yeah, he's just got to be careful. He's just got to kind of almost let first place go. He's never going to catch Campbell now, but at least hold on to second by keeping it on the road.
Yeah, and he does have about 10 seconds back to Jonathan Roulette, and so that is going to be very, very crucial for him as he runs. Harry's just got to focus in here. 6 minutes to go in this race. You can see that replay. We've talked before about Harry tends to kind of push over the line here from time to time. That's the last thing he wants to do here at this point.
Yeah. Oh, that's off the road again for Carollo. Dear me, he's got a wheel onto the grass on the entry to turn 1, and he's gone straight on, unable to turn. This might allow James Hebb and also Fowler to get up the order here. Not sure how far back they are, but Carollo is really struggling.
And I've got to tell you something here that I am very, very concerned if I'm Carollo. That car is not handling well. This may not be the last time we see that Lamborghini off track, although I've got to give him credit for just trying to muster on forward.
Oh wow, he didn't even get the grass on the way in. He just went straight. That car is really struggling. And wow, he's going to struggle to get second here. He struggled to get a podium, although I don't know how far behind James Hebb is. Michael Fowler's only 9 seconds behind. It's not 11 and 12 laps, I can assure you. It's only about 8 seconds, and I think Carollo's going to be off the podium.
I sadly think you may be right as well. The Illinois driver with only about 5 minutes to go, as there is a little bit off there, as that's Andrew Hewitt. We talked about the damage to the rear end of that Ferrari earlier on in the race. That's a lapped car, though, so that's not going to help Carollo out at all. But Hebb definitely closing down that gap down to about 1.6, 1.5 seconds.
And there Carollo goes into the pit lane. The damage is too much. He can no longer continue with it. And so he comes down pit lane. No fast repairs in this series, of course, so we'll have to get it repaired the old-fashioned way, but he will return to at least check the checkered flag, I think. James Hebb might be under a bit of pressure from Fowler behind. There's a small gap there, but nothing too much. I don't think there's a fight imminent there, really, in the final 4 minutes, and everything finally now has spread out and calmed down.
Well, we say it's calmed down. We'll have to see if we have a few more bits of craziness in the final parts of this race, as I can't guarantee anything. So you saw Mark Chapman getting a little bit squirrely there, coming down through the area of Dingle Dell. He's got to be very, very careful. All these drivers do. These tires are worn in at this point. Yes, it's only 73 degrees Fahrenheit out on track, but still very, very easy to make a mistake.
It is. It doesn't matter what the track temperature is around here, I think, really. It's just difficult whichever way you look at it. And especially in the kind of US series of any championship, Brands Hatch is not a very well-used circuit. Not many drivers will have much experience around here. And I know that it's a little different with drivers like we have here that are much more interested in sports car racing than some of the others in the American scene. However, it's still not a very well-used circuit, even in a GT3 championship, so people won't know their way around here quite as well as maybe some of the others, especially some of the previous ones like Imola, Watkins Glen, Spa, for example. They're iconic circuits that are known around the world. Brands Hatch, a little bit less known, even though it's very popular in the UK, and very well known in the UK. I don't think there's any UK drivers apart from Harry Wills. So people won't know it very well, and that all adds into the difficulty of an already hard racetrack.
Yeah, that certainly is something to take in mind. I can tell you, as an American, this is not a circuit that I drive quite often, but as we tick closer and closer here, looks like Sean Campbell coming across the line there, probably about 2 laps or so to go. It's still a little TBD here, depending on when he exactly crossed over the line.
I think it will be 2 laps to go here. A slightly slower race than what we saw in the EU series. I think the first race here in the US series went at almost identical pace to the front of the race in the EU series, but this US series race has been slightly slower because the time of the race winner Sean Campbell was held up in the first 10-15 minutes or so by a bit more traffic than eventual race winner Alex Urenga saw in the first part of the EU series race. However, he did slow down towards the end as well, so they are kind of running it sort of similar. Just in different ways, but it's going to be RSR domination once again. In terms of the overall races, all 4 here this evening have been taken by RSR drivers. 2 for Alex Urenga, and looks like it's going to be 2 for Sean Campbell as well now.
Yeah, that certainly does look like what it's going to be. Dan Tenorio here working his way around, as is Sean Campbell. The RSR by butt kicker driver is going to cross over the line just with a minute to go. And so indeed, Barney the Flagman waves the white flag. 1 lap to go for Sean Campbell.
And if he were to convert with keeping this on the road for the final lap of this race, which not everybody's been able to do so far this race, it would be the 6th race in the sixth race win in the first 10, which is more than half of the races, of course. So that's a remarkable record for Sean Campbell to win more than half of the races, even though we're at only at the halfway stage. To win such a rate of races is quite remarkable for him.
Yes, it certainly is. The 26th there bringing his way through Surtees right now. Everything else looking like it's pretty much stabilized out on track. Some pretty big gaps out there. Everybody just having to keep it on to the black stuff here as Campbell brings his way down through this tricky, narrow section of the track for one last time. That is R.A.W.S out there in front of him, able to get back out on track and try to pick up some laps.
This is all about getting points. I'm not sure if you actually have to cross the line to get points. I do think you have to cross and do 50% of the race, though, so that might be in mind there.
Yes, it might, as there comes Campbell, bringing it down through the right-hander of Clark's Curve, coming to the line, and here he comes. The Lamborghini driver for RSR by butt kicker crosses the line and takes victory for the 2nd time in Brands Hatch.
Absolutely. It is his 6th victory of the season and 4th in a row. He took both of the race wins at Imola last time out. He's done exactly the same. The clean sweep once again at Brands Hatch.
Clean sweep there for him. We follow now Braden Maling, who's going to come out of that final corner there. He's going to bring it across the line, and he will take victory back in the AM category. A fantastic run for them. And let's give a massive shout out here to Michael Fowler. Had a couple of offs early in the race, but just kept his head in it. And he is going to be able to keep himself ahead. And it looks like he's going to be able to hold off any attack here from James Hebb.
Looks like it. He'll get to that podium, which is great for Fowler, and a special shout out as well to Daniel Florea there in 4th position in the McLaren. Not only is he driving my favourite car in iRacing, but also this is his first top 5 of the season so far. Whether that be in a main race or a sprint race, it's his first top 5. So special hats off to him.
Incredible stuff there for him and for the rest of the field, most of whom were able to keep it at least on the road here, which was certainly something to be able to hang your hat on. Very tricky around here. Just waiting for the last couple of drivers to cross over the start-finish line. I think Andrew Hewitt may be the last one out on track who I am showing yet to have crossed over. And it looks like the Ferrari driver is bringing that car down through Clark Curve through the final time, and there you should be able to see him just popping into your screen, and that means that we will have all of our finishers done here today, and that means we can run you through our final results for the day. As we hooted and hollered about, it was Sean Campbell taking victory over Harry Wills, Jonathan Roulette in 3rd. Dan Tenorio and Chase Wilson round out your top 5 with R.A.W.S, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Mark Chapman came home 1 lap down in 7th, and Dean Timms a DNF on the day.
Category standings won't be too much of a surprise because Braden Merling was leading for the final 5-10 minutes or so ahead of Michael Fowler and James Hebb, who came to the line together. Daniel Ferreira, best result of the season so far with 4th, with Justin Delano, another top 5 for him. Jeff Carollo slipped to 6th with that late damage. Ed Procrofy was in 7th ahead of Fabian Ponce. Andrew Hewitt and Randall Rasmussen rounded out the top 10. Venkataraju, Blumenkrantz, Metzger, Neubauer, Hurl, Boschel, and Rasmussen as well, all did not see the checkered flag in that race.
Plenty of drivers as they go, but that is going to wrap up our broadcast here for tonight. Round 5 of the Race Anywhere World Series Leagues, and my name is DJ Clark, and along with Ewan O'Leary as well as David Christie behind the scenes, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. We will be back next week for Round 6, and until we see you then, thanks for watching.